right. So today I have with me a very special guest. I'm very excited for this conversation. Today I have Kadin McElwain. How you doing today, Kadin?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Kadin, you are a college student, a writer, and an activist on a mission. You have autism and you are in college and you'd like to share your experiences with the world. I'm very interested and very excited for this conversation. So why don't you just give everybody a rundown on your story here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old, coincidentally, after getting the smallpox vaccination, which of course didn't cause it. That's conspiracy is out there, so I always find that funny. And starting with the very doctor that diagnosed me, people questioned my capabilities because I was diagnosed with autism, definitely due to the stigmas, I believe. The doctor who diagnosed me even said, "Don't expect college from him, expect trade school." But my parents wouldn't have that. They pushed me hard to get me to where I'm at. Occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA therapy, finding with teachers at IEP meetings. One time, my IEP actually was taken away during middle school, and my parents wrote to every single autism organization in Tennessee, where the middle school was at, and a state senator to get that implemented, which really shows their dedication, and I appreciate them for that. Then COVID hit. I did school online, was able to graduate early, and I started college in 2022, a few months after I graduated. And my advocacy work began with a class project in December of that year. The assignment was to think of a way to help the community and act upon it. So my group and I set up a GoFundMe for the Autism Society of America. We raised over $1,000 for it, and we won a contest with it. But I saw, as typical with my generation, the TikTok generation, as I like to call them, my group wasn't really in it. They were only doing the assignment to get the grade and the little prize money voucher for the school coffee shop that we got for winning. And I've noticed that autism, while there are some bills out there, it's not necessarily a mainstream cause in politics or society. So I thought, hey, if no one else is taking this seriously, I might as well do so for society. So that class project led to all kinds of opportunities for me, appearing on platforms like this one, in fact, over 50 this year alone, planning fundraisers for the autism community, meeting up with politicians to discuss what we can do better for the autism community, and pretty much too many opportunities for me to count.
That's awesome, man. So, you know, that's I can identify with some of the issues your parents had while you were growing up. You had some issues like you were in middle school and they took away your IEP. I wouldn't even know what to do if that happened to us because like I would be so frustrated, so upset, and quite frankly, I'd be mad, at the school and the school system for doing that. But how did you cope with that when you like because you obviously needed the IEP. What IEP stands for is Individual Education Plan. And you obviously needed that to help you grow and flourish. So how did you personally cope with that?
Well, back then, I was so afraid to embrace who I was. To be fair, I was young and stupid back then. I was like 12 when that incident took place. But I actually despised having an IEP a lot because it meant I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm autistic. But need that IEP is an understatement, my guy. It's actually illegal to take stuff like that away in school. So I asked someone this once. So as I said, that little thing, my parents fighting hard to get that IEP back into place for me definitely shows their dedication towards me and their continued dedication still, even to this day.
Yeah, so I often find that we are sometimes I have difficulty advocating for myself, but I have no problems advocating for my child. And any of my children really. So I have my son, he is 5 years old and he has autism. His name is Rocket and he has level 2 autism. So he's not he's on the spectrum, but he's very verbal, he's very social. It's just how he copes with things and his communication skills that are lacking sometimes. But I couldn't ask for a better kid. He's a great kid. And some of the issues that we've had in school is we don't want Rocket treated differently, but we do want people to acknowledge that he is different. And we struggle sometimes because our son is not um, all by outwardly appearances. He seems to be fine. You know, there's not any indication that he is autistic. And that's where our problem lies because he is different. He can't communicate very well socially. Like he is verbal, but he just sometimes when he gets frustrated, it's very hard for him to articulate things the way he wants to or have people understand the way he's wanting to communicate. And so I definitely identify and resonate with that part of your story. Your parents are amazing and you're amazing. Like, so what is your current focus of study? Like, what are you studying in college?
Ironically, given I have trouble with some of the social elements of life, public relations, actually. Initially, I was open to go into the music or politics industries with that kind of field, but the problem is, with music, you have to work for a really big star in order to make it in the millions. And with politics, there might be a chance, but you have to throw away your morals in order to make it in that particular industry. And that's just not the type of person I am. So I think now I want to work for a nonprofit organization once I get done with college, preferably an autism organization.
I tell you what, I have heard recently. Now, I don't have anything to do with this organization. I've just talked to one of the people that's involved casually, not on the show or anything. But I have heard of a program or an organization called Autism and Entertainment. You should probably check that out. That might be a good place for you to start. They're out of Los Angeles, I believe, Hollywood, but they do a lot of work with Disney, Nickelodeon, companies like that. And the one specific person I had talked to, they were actually working with somebody that is pretty high up in the organization, but as a client. So they didn't really have anything to do with the group themselves, I guess. But it was just a conversation that we had had, and autism and entertainment that might sounds like it might be right up your alley. Um, so being interested in PR is public relations. Is this kind of like, does podcasting, does that sound like something you'd want to do? Or are you thinking more behind the scenes?
Hmm. I honestly never thought that. I was thinking something like a promoter or event planner or spokesperson, that kind of thing. There's a ton of opportunities for PR in of in that sense, and especially in tourism and music and nonprofit. But I'd be open to anything PR related as long as it pays the bills, puts food on the table, and I'm healthy and happy. I'm good. And then eventually, once I have that success in PER and I reach retirement age, I think I want to try my hand at political office because I think we need more neurodivergent minds in political power. It would
Yeah, we
teach the
do.
world to be kinder to each other.
Yeah, we do. There's a lot to be said for that because like a lot of academics in high academic colleges and stuff like that, a lot of academics are actually neurodivergent. A lot of people don't know that, like mainly because the stigma attached to autism and being on the spectrum. It there's nothing wrong. with people with autism. They're just different, you know? You're just different. And in such a way that it's not obvious to everyone. Like you talking to me right now, you're engaged. You are, you're very verbally aware. Um, you're very good at talking and talking on camera. So one wouldn't assume that you were autistic right away. And that's some of the troubles that we come across all the time is that people don't think about things often before they say, "Oh yeah, go ahead." Or if you're in a place and you need some help finding a classroom or a study hall or something like that, and just asking for help might be difficult for some people. Asking, "Hey, where is this room at?" might be difficult for some people, and that's we all just need to be nicer to each other. Is the bottom line, and I think you're right. I think politicians and the political arena could use not necessarily neurodivergent people, but neurodivergent thinking because everyone is neurotypical in their way of thoughts and everything in Washington is so one-sided. And it's either it's either the right or the extreme left, the extreme right, the extreme left. We need somebody in the middle steering both sides.
Yeah, we really do.
I can so there's so many things that I can appreciate about your story, man. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old as of Tuesday, July 9th.
Happy birthday, man. It's
Thank you,
pretty
sir.
awesome. That's pretty awesome. And you're studying PR and you graduated early. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it was during COVID. I took classes online, as pretty much everyone did, and I noticed I could concentrate better online than if I were in a traditional school setting. So my entire junior year was online. Then senior year, I was getting back into in person briefly. Then I had a COVID exposure, which resulted in me having to stay home for the standard week or 2 weeks or whatever they made me do. I think it was a week or so. And I texted the school, look, I don't want to miss out on anything. You know me. Can you please send me the assignments? And all I got in response was this nasty email from one of my teachers, ironically, the special education teacher for a class I was taking. And yes, they have special ed classes in high school that said, we are not in COVID time anymore. No, you can't have those assignments. You'll just have to wait for when you get back. And I thought, okay, that's strike one for me. And then the final straw was when there was a bullying incident involving someone who was LGBTQ, where the school did pretty much nothing to help them out or punish the perpetrators. And that was the final straw for me, because I'm also an advocate for the LGBTQ community. So I asked my parents, is it cool if I go online fully based on those two magic tricks that the school pulled? And they said, sir. So I went to a whole new online school called American High School, had some of the most supportive teachers I ever had, didn't treat me like garbage, didn't use my IEP as a play toy to do what they like, didn't try to sabotage my success, were actually very caring, and thanks to them, I ended up graduating on Valentine's Day of 2022. Wow, working two jobs, no less.
Wow, that's impressive. I can't. I can't. I couldn't even accomplish that and I don't even have one job. I'm actually a high school dropout. I never went to college, so you're doing things right, man. That's very very awesome. So what kind of social struggles did you have when you were growing up? Did you have a lot of friends?
No, in fact, I kept to myself because of my insecurities of being seen as stupid for who I was. But now that I'm 20, I've been learning, especially this year through the advocacy work, to truly embrace who I am and be around my own people. I still don't have for as many friends as I like, or a girlfriend or boyfriend. But I've been working on it. Yesterday, I he learned another social thing that I still misunderstand. I can't really go into it because it's personal, and I want to keep things respectful. But I'm still working on those things. Taking things literally is another thing I struggle with. Making friends, like I said, that's a huge one for me. Uh, Taking things, I've mentioned that, but when I was younger, I couldn't talk until I was 7. Felt uncomfortable with sensing certain sensory types of things, so light, sound, that kind of thing. I don't really have those anymore, and it's recently come to my attention that apparently staring off into space might be stimming for me. If you know what that
Yeah.
is
Yep.
how I looked it up, and they said staring is a way for some people with autism to stim.
Yep. Yep. And for those of the uninitiated, stemming is a self-stimulation. And oftentimes we do things out of a habit because they make us feel good and they make our bodies feel good, or um, for a lack of a better explanation, just feeling good. Self-stimulation. It gives you a way to calm yourself down, or when you've got your mind busy, it helps you take your mind off of things. And is that how you would explain stimming?
Yeah, that's really accurate.
Yeah, my son Rocket. So when he's stimming, there's lots of things that he does, but he likes to scream. He loves to scream, and as long as we can tell the difference between a happy scream and a sad scream, so as long as he's not sad or angry, we let him scream away. Man, it's just what he does when he's happy. And we ask him, "Are you happy, Rocket?" And he says, "Yeah, I'm happy." And it's great. You said one of the things that you have difficulty with is taking things literal. Um, I, we have some issues with that. Like our young children. Um, our middle son, he is almost 15, and our youngest son is 5. They both have things they love to take things literal. Like they don't know any other way. Like if you're telling them I don't have a good example off the top of my head, but if you trying to come up with a rhetorical question, they'll answer the question as it's literal, and they take everything so literal. And I thought that was kind of funny, that's one of the social issues that you have difficulties with sometimes, because I see it so often in my own house. Sometimes I have to stop and say, yeah, I know it's my fault, but
Yeah, yeah. How and when I was younger, I got an example off the top of my head. My stepmom told me to take the trash with me to school. I literally took it all the way to school on the bus and threw it away while at the school. And that was a pretty interesting and funny phone call for my parents to receive from the school.
I bet it was. If your parents are anything like me, they came and picked up the trash and gave you a hug and said, "I love you." You know, I that's some of the cute things that we hold on to as parents. We hold those moments near and dear to our heart, and as we're talking to each other, like as a dad talking to mom, you remember that time, like I could just imagine your parents like 5 years, 10 years from now. You remember that time that Caden took a bag of trash to school because we asked him to take it out on his way? Yeah, I remember. That was hilarious. And they're going to remember that stuff for the rest of their lives, and you will too. That's one thing about being neurodivergent. I bet you have an excellent memory.
Yeah, I do, especially about music. I could talk for hours about when such song was released, who were the writers, who were the producers, mostly in modern music and top 40, but I know some of the classics too.
So what kind of music do you like to prefer to listen to? Modern music?
A little bit of everything, actually. I have been listening to a lot of country music and country music hip hop blending stuff, like some of the new Post Malone songs.
I like Post Malone. I liked him when he first came out. And I'm an old guy. I'm 39. So, that's my kids were into Post Malone when he first came out, and then as they're listening to him, I'm like, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Post Malone," and yeah, that's how I got into it. But I listen to a lot of rock and roll music myself. I prefer rock and roll music, like old school, um, 60s, 70s, 80s rock music, and then of course modern heavy rock. I like Metallica, Godsmack, those type of bands. So you're
Y-
more into like a little bit of everything, pop music, and you like to be a little bit eclectic with some of the things that you like to learn with music.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some issues that you want to bring awareness to within the autism within we call ourselves quote unquote normies. So if you wanted to give us normies a piece of advice about you and other autistic people, what would be your advice?
I would say just be kind to people, not just people with autism or who are neurodivergent, but all people. The world is so divided right now due to petty differences and political beliefs and this, that, and the other. If we came together and realized we're all the same and worked together towards a common goal, peace, love, and positivity, then maybe this world would be a much better place.
Peace, love, and I love that. I love that. That is so awesome. Peace, love, and positivity. That's a good message, man. So you also mentioned that, oh boy. So you had also mentioned that when you want to take these, this idea of being, bringing awareness, and you're on a mission to raise as much awareness as about autism as possible. What does that mean for you? Like, I know that you're autistic, so you would like to bring awareness to people that, there are lots of people out there who are autistic or have neurodivergent qualities, and we all need to be nice. But what is your mission? Like, how would you explain your mission to someone who has autism?
I would say I'm helping to get not just awareness out there for the community, the autism community, that is, but acceptance for all people for who they are. To put it simply, I see negativity and wrongs in the world that society has made for whatever reasons they want and whatever ignorance they have. And I want to correct that and make it how it should be, which is peaceful, lovely, and positive. And mainly, like I said, to lessen the stigma. There was this one documentary I watched called Autism Every Day that really made me sick. It was released in 2006, so around your time. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's so like 3 or 4 moms of those with autism whining and complaining and saying how they were drafted into having a child with autism, how they can't do what they want to do or go for bagels because they have to do their job as a parent and help said autistic child. One mom was standing in front of a school and saying, "Oh, I wish my autistic child can go here, but they don't have the services, so he can't." And what another said, they hate getting calls from the school saying that their child did something, and and there was this one scene that was even more heartbreaking than all those. with a little girl, the younger sibling of one of the children featured, who, and no, all four of the children featured, well, six, there was one mom in there who had three children with autism in a row. Oh, so technically they all were in this without the parents' knowledge or without their consent. The children, that is, they couldn't give this consent legally. Therefore, the parents must have done that documentary for the easy money. But one young sibling of one of the autistic children featured said, "I wish I didn't have a sister with autism." And while I was watching that, I thought, okay, way to teach your child ignorant. And so eventually, I really want to remake that documentary to focus on people who are more higher functioning, going to college, doing the stuff I'm doing, inspiring a movement. And I also do want to acknowledge people who are lower functioning. So there's a balance. So people see there's a spectrum. I consider myself lucky. I'm high functioning, and I'm doing all this stuff now. There are a lot of people with autism out there who aren't as lucky as I am to have a supportive set of parents, like my parents or you, or who don't have the services I had to get me to where I am. So, documentaries like the Autism Everyday documentary don't help matters either. So my goal is to remake that documentary, focus on people who are high functioning and low functioning, and on the positives of having autism.
Yeah, yeah. You had earlier you had mentioned some therapies that you had gone through. You had been through some occupational therapy and ABA therapy. Are you currently going through occupational therapy or anything?
No, but I still have accommodations that the college provides for me, testing accommodations to be exact, a private room to take the tests in, and extended time on tests.
So it's kind of like an IEP for college.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So like some of the one of the things that really helped out our rocket, he did a little bit of occupational therapy, and it was frustrating when he stopped doing occupational therapy because he should still be going to occupational therapy, absolutely. But they reevaluate every six weeks, I think it was. Maybe it was 6 months. But he had went through and completed all his goals, and instead of setting new goals, they had just, okay, we'll see you guys some other time. And that was very frustrating for us. And so we ended up getting a what they call a parent caregiver trainer. And he our parent caregiver trainer, it's not like ABA therapy, but it's something similar to that. He teaches us how to better communicate with Rocket as to be able to better correct his behaviors if he's helps it really kind of helps us be able to teach him and teach him how to be more like us without being mean, you know? And I worry about that all the time. I worry about like it does he understand me? It's like and it's kind of funny that a lot of times not only can he understand me, but he understands me a lot better than I ever thought he would. And that's me not giving him enough credit oftentimes because I think of him as a 5-year-old autistic child when I should think of him as a 5-year-old child because like he understands everything that I'm saying to him. It's just sometimes he doesn't have the right words to be able to express that back the way I'm used to hearing it. What are some things that did you like ABA therapy when you were a child?
I actually started ABA therapy when I was a teenager and just finishing off high school, and I I loved it. It was super helpful in getting me to where I need to be in the sense of college, getting my first job. My ABA therapist actually went with me to my first job interview, which was for Bojangles, the chicken
Yeah.
place. This was back in Tennessee, and the manager said they didn't have a position for me, but they connected me to a friend of theirs at the Hardys, which is where I worked at during high school. And as the saying goes, for us, just history. Today, this summer, I'm actually working 4 different jobs currently.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive, man. So yeah, not not only are you in college and doing all the things that you need to do as a young kid, well, I say kid, a young adult, but you're also working 4 different gigs. That's incredible, man. That's inspiring. That's what that is.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Man, that's you must not have much time.
Yeah, I have time of the evenings and on weekends, as most adults do, but come graduation, I'll definitely won't have time, or at least not as much as I have now. I'm still young, so I gotta embrace every minute of this journey now, because I'm
Absolutely.
definitely gonna miss this. I act like I won't, but I definitely will miss being a kid, well, young adult, but technically the brain doesn't mature until it's
25.
28, 25.
28?
I think
Is it
I'm pretty
28?
sure
Let me
it's
look that
28.
up. Let me look that up real quick. I think it's 25. But anywho, that's so what do you do for fun in your off time?
Well, I definitely like appearing on these a lot and doing the advocacy work. That's definitely fun for me. Listening to
Is it
music is a huge one for me. Following politics, that's definitely huge. And really been into a lot of YouTube recently, at the memes and that kind of thing.
I love YouTube. That's one of my favorite things in the world. I got YouTube Premium, changed my life. So I don't have to watch ads or anything like that. And it's so I usually listen to a lot of podcasts throughout the day, 3 4 hour long podcasts, and it really got annoying listening to ads all the time. So I went and got YouTube Premium. But you were right. The I Googled that. It said the brain finishes developing and maturing in the mid to late 20s, though some say it may continue to develop until age 30.
Wow, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I know. Considering I'm like 39 and I still feel sometimes sometimes as I'm sitting here, I still feel like a child. I get really excited about things like a child, and so yeah, I still feel. And you know what? And I when I look in the mirror, sometimes I'm shocked to see how old I look because I think of myself like a young child. So you watch a lot of YouTube and you doing a lot of this stuff right here. Are you interested in starting your own podcast at any point?
Mm, I've thought about starting a podcast or something like that. That's honestly not a bad idea. Yeah, but the problem is there's so many autism podcasts out there, so I'm not sure how I could make mine unique.
Is there a lot of autism podcasts out there? I really honestly spend a lot of the majority of my time on YouTube. So if it's not a podcast on YouTube, I probably don't listen.
Yeah, there's a couple very notable ones. There's one that's number 1 for autism podcast that I'm going to be on tomorrow with Tony Mantor, or there's Autism Rocks and Rolls with Sam Mitchell, Jimmy Carl, which I'm going to be on August 2nd. There's quite a few.
Really? That's awesome. Yeah, there's quite a few podcasts like mine out there, so that shouldn't dissuade you from doing your own. Like if you ever need some help getting started, if you ever want to start a podcast or whatever, just reach out and I will. free of charge, tell you everything I know. I and I don't know much. Like I'm just starting this journey myself like 6 months ago, but sometimes it seems like working with other creators, it's like pulling teeth, getting them to tell you, hey, what's your secret? Like as far as equipment, like all this equipment that you see in here, like we have maybe $10,000 wrapped up into our podcast total, and that's with all the legal as far as setting up the business, and that includes all the equipment, that includes all the set back here that you see. So I mean that's I know, and that's really probably we did it a little backwards from a lot of other people because we started the business first instead of starting the podcast to seed the business. That way we started out with protections already in place and we don't have to rebrand or anything later on. So that's the way we chose to do it. But like the equipment aspect is a lot of people overthink the equipment, and I overthought the equipment. I have this thing where I call it like a decision freeze. There is so many options out there. It takes me so long to research and then finally pull the trigger on something. Like the camera, like this is a $200 webcam. That's all that is. And I was researching cameras for like 6 months before I finally picked that one. So it's sometimes difficult in that arena, but if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or anything like that, just reach out, reach out to the people say, hey, I need some help making a decision. And ultimately, like I think podcasting is so neat that even if it's not making money, it's still really cool to do because a lot of the things that you have a lot of difficulties with, like the social aspect and making friends and stuff, it would be a lot easier with a podcast.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into it sometime this year.
Yeah, I use I tell you what, the hardest part of it is the editing. And that is by far the hardest part. But you're young enough and like are you good with computers and technology?
Definitely. Both my parents are in the IT field, so I pretty much grew up around computers and
So you know
technology.
how to do it already. You know how to do all this stuff already, man. It's not hard. The hardest part for me would be the editing, but the second hardest part is this right here. That's all it is. Everything else you already know. Like you know how to use Zoom. As far as uh editing and all that software stuff, like we use Adobe, so I'm sure you're already familiar with that because you use it for school, right?
Yeah, I had a class with it to Photoshop, and I think the video app was called Premiere Pro. Yeah, it was
Yep.
called Premiere Pro, that kind of
That's
thing.
exactly what we use. Have you ever heard of the FX show The Bear?
Hmm, I think I've heard of the name.
That show is completely edited with Premiere Pro. So you could like Adobe Premiere Pro is what a lot of pros use. You know, it's not like movie studio quality like it is, but the movie studios own their own stuff, so they own their own editing software, and it's way more advanced than I could ever come up with or do. But the Premiere Pro is like when I opened it up and looked at it, it was so intimidating to me that I was like, I looked over at my wife and said, hey, can you do this? Do you want to do this? So my wife is my editor because it looked really intimidating for me. But that's the only thing out of this I don't know how to do is editing. And if I had to do all my editing myself, I did buy, um, there's a bunch of classes online to figure out how to do it. And then I've actually paid for a class that neither my wife or I took. So if I had to figure it out, I absolutely could. But yeah, that's to me, that's the most difficult part. And the second most difficult part is this right here. And I'm not really good at promoting, so I don't promote much. I just the social media stuff. But with you wanting to go into PR, man, it'd be perfect for you. I couldn't imagine any other thing that would be beneficial for you to do other than because this you'd be doing it for yourself. I mean, everything would be yours. You wouldn't be working for anybody else. And of course, you might have to self censor yourself sometimes when you're talking about like politics or religion or something like that. But absolutely, it's a heck of a gig. I love it.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into it.
Awesome. Well, Caden, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, apart from the usual plugs I do, follow me on Facebook at Kadin Ronald, KADINRONALD. Check out my writing on the sports column at Kadin McElwain, KADINMCELWAIN, and follow me on Instagram at 73 posts here, all one word.
Awesome. Caden, it's been awesome talking to you, man. I've hopefully our paths cross again sometime. And I've friended you on Facebook so that we could may possibly hook up in the future and because I tell you what, like with the things that you're interested in doing and the places that you're interested in going, you're absolutely going to be it is absolutely needed. Let's put it like that. It's absolutely needed. It's absolutely necessary and vital that people like yourself come out and reach out to guys like me because not everybody knows, man. Not everybody like you're not I would venture to say that you're probably a pretty normal person on the inside, just like we are, but you have difficulty expressing yourself how I would, like it's difficult for me to explain because I'm not autistic or anything, but watching my son, he has the words, just spitting them out is difficult for him in the moment, and I don't know how to describe that. It's very humbling to have this experience. It's very awesome that you've reached out, and a lot of things that neurodivergent people have difficulties with, you're banging it out of the park, and that's awesome. Caden, it's been a wonderful time, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. Happy birthday, and man, you're so inspiring. Keep it up, brother.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We'll see you later, man.
All right, see ya.